Hello everyone, it's Cheryl Millett here, live at 5 Mondays, all things healthy. So, I used a few words here, the A words, and these A words, as they come up here, is appearances, apples, and attitude. And then I'm going to add, there's so many other words to do that, appreciation, which I'm going to give you a link that so that you can sign up and check out iAwesome. There's a number of free events and a number of free events. So I'm going to talk about that at the end. But here we are, it's Monday, it's approximately 1 week after the US election, and still there's a huge buzz, not just in the US, not just in Canada, but around the world. You might have seen the one link that I put up, and I encourage you to go. I thought it was very informative. I think he was a priest or something like that, and he went through what's going to happen or what happens after the election, and certain dates in December, another date in January, just for the official, to be something to be official. I guess that's why things don't come about until, I don't know, January 20th, as far as move, shifts, whatever, pass things along. So things gotta carry on with some normalcy for now, carry on, and continue to be the leadership and the administration and all of that. But needless to say, to understand something is somewhat of an important piece, The awareness is one thing, but to understand something is another piece that kind of comes in. So I found some, I was trying to think of, for those who are new here, welcome, and for those who have been here, welcome back. It's in 3 parts, so sometimes, I leave out one part depending on timing, especially if it's not Monday. Mondays is the usual time, and so the first part is something completely, maybe not so completely new, but something new, something different. And then, yes, we'll dive in pieces of the news, those kind of things, and then at the end, we'll do the jokes. So, have one here that I was familiar with, all prepared. Let's go into the something new, something maybe you would have a question about, maybe you thought about this, maybe you haven't, especially holistic practitioners may have thought about this something new. And I don't know about you, but we consume eggs here. We get them from the farm. They're dirty, if you want to use that word. Dirty's not dirty, but they're not washed, and they sit on the counter. They don't go into the fridge. Now, if it was summer, yes. And once you put eggs in the fridge, you have to keep them in the fridge. If you wash them, you should put them in the fridge. But once in the fridge, should be in the fridge. In Europe, they still very much just keep their eggs out on the counter. I'm not sure how that shifted over here in North America over time, but it did. So here, I want to show you something. I'm going to show you the few steps here. And so eggshells. And did you know the chickens are brown if the eggs are brown, and the chicken's white, the eggs are white. So I think somehow they got into thinking white was better, as in white bread. And we consider that the brown eggs are the more natural, but they don't have to be. They don't have to be. So when we consume the eggs, if I consume them raw or my daughter eats them, I get her to keep the shells, and I might have to add a different step for this because of what I'm going to tell you. So typically, just take the shell, and what I do is I put it into this little container. You can see it's more mixed up, and I use this pedestal, something like that, pestle, and then you can hear it close up. So this allows me to put more of them in here. Then when I did my research about the eggs, a lot of times people will just use, they'll grind them up, not grind them up, but they will break them up enough, and then they'll put this on their gardens. And when I was doing my research, and this makes complete sense, they didn't break down. So they didn't break down. Why? Because they're so hard. They're like 40% calcium, your eggshells. So you have to, in order to really even get the most out of it sooner rather than later, is to grind it up in a powder. So this is very powdery, and if I do this in my Vitamixer, it's so hard. You can see that it just pits at the actual plastic container, and it's so, but when you do it to fine powder like this, is like this cloud of dust. It maybe, you know, I could do it longer, but the idea is, whether it's your plants, whether it's your indoor, outdoor, doesn't matter. You'd sprinkle a little bit on this as mineral. So only 60% of it is calcium. I'm not sure what the other percentage is. There may be some protein in it. I'm not sure, but it's very hard. Eggshells, very, very hard, and for a good reason, to keep what's inside, whether they were talking about chicks or we're talking about food source, solid, healthy, you know, just everything that it needs to do, encapsulate, don't want any airflow or anything like that. But here's the thing, this is a awesome source of calcium for us humans, and probably maybe for pets too, if they have to do research. Awesome, better than the calcium supplements. So this is maybe there's just one source. What is it? Calcium carbonate, I think it's there. So really, in addition to calcium and protein, I thought the eggshells also contain small amounts of other minerals. So whether they're trace minerals, including strontium, fluoride, that would be natural fluoride, magnesium, and selenium. So just like calcium, these minerals play a role in bone health, which is good. And calcium's good. It's a good buffer in our body. I believe it's the most abundant mineral, if I remember my studies in holistic nutrition. Is the most abundant mineral in the body, and if your body is very acidic, it will draw out the calcium from your bones as a buffer. You know that a buffer, if you have an acid pH, and then it buffers it. So minerals are very good at doing that, calcium being the most important one. So here now, a certain pinch into certain foods, into smoothies or whatever. So I created this here to be the source of protein for supplements, and I can just put this in food. Now the good thing about minerals is they can be heated, and it's perfectly fine. So it can be heated. Minerals do not denature like vitamins do, and absolutely, to have any supplementation calcium, to be consuming it with food. So I look forward to beginning that process. I did do a little bit of it, and I might just use this in the garden anyway, because I didn't wash the shells. They just, we just open them. So if I'm going to start using this for human consumption, I'll probably wash the shells before I crack them, and then use it that way. So I want to bring that to light, because there might be some of you out there that are consuming eggs regularly. So all you would have to do is wash the egg anyway. That's what I'm going to say. Whether it's in the fridge, already been washed, rinse off the egg anyway. It's easier to do it before. And then what you would do is, when you crack the egg open, as you see, I had two halves. What I do is I lay it out to dry first on the counter. So there's the eggshell. They just sit there 24 hours, something like that. It's completely dry. What's inside is completely dry, and then I will grind it down, as you saw, into different into smaller pieces. And then when I get a full container of this, only because depending on your blender, you need so much in the blender for it to work, and only when I get enough, almost 2 of these containers. These are old anyway, those old small blenders that and I just keep the containers. So this is great. And with the lid, so I'm able, I get a couple of these, and then that fills enough in my Vitamixer, and then I'm able to grind it down to a powder. And I'll probably grind it even longer, knowing that I'm going to put it in my food, because when I did try some of it, it's heavier. Like minerals are heavier, so it sunk to the protein shake to the bottom, and then I could feel the grittiness of it in the bottom. But no big deal. But it's doable. So I think thinking on those lines are going to give us a better supplementation of, in this case, calcium, but there's other things. And then I want to move in quickly, and just a very short thing is, I did mention an A word, apple, and there's this saying, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. When I did research for my book, what I discovered with the apple is that they called all round fruit apple. So could be the plum, could be the peach, nectarine, those fruits. So what they're referring to is a round fruit today keeps the doctor away. And then I always like to remind everybody here, remind you that these fruits, be it we're in North America and we're up in Canada, and you can't grow every kind of fruit here, is a wonderful superfood. I consider celery a superfood. So they are, superfoods is one of those words, but healthy food, lots of nutrients, eating the apple there. So I just wanted to kind of bring that up. I also just want to do, it's a little bit of show and tell here already, but this is an oak leaf, and it's a very large oak leaf. I live in actually 100-acre oak forest. Now it's not all oak trees now, because the city likes to plant a variety, but we do have dozens of oak trees in this neighborhood, and this is one of the newer ones. Some of them are well over 100 years old, but yeah, look, very big. It's big, almost as big as my head. But let's continue on. It's been a fun week last week, and still up today, figuring out website stuff. But learning curve, yes, but learning, it's really interesting. I mean, the attitude comes into when we have to learn and do things for ourselves. The attitude of, you can figure it out. You're going to go from one place where you don't know too much to another place where you're going to know something and learn more and more. So that's what I wanted to bring into attitude, and also around the current current politics of things, or the current health that's going on. And the attitudes around that is also very important. What that means, we just think of, we're all human at one level, and this is more about coming together and just enjoying the different opinions of people, but yet not dividing. So that's the kind of attitude I wanted to talk about here. Obviously, there's a lot of people elated that a potential winner of the president election could be Biden, but it's not settled. So to really, if people are just discovering that for now, and really we're just on board with the mainstream media, and maybe some people will never hear what I'm saying and never really know until things have been sorted out as to what's going to happen. But the idea here is to have the attitude that to carry on with your life. Politics aren't everything, but they are something, as well as the health. So good news about COVID is, I know they're considering the lockdowns, but there's a new website. I think it's no more lockdowns, and no more lockdowns, something like that. But I'm going to post it. It is Rocco Galati. He opened up a new website, and I'm actually going into a meeting at 6 o'clock today around solutions. A smaller group within Sylvan Henry's continued communication, which is really appreciated, what he's doing, and all of the various groups coming together. That is the way to think about it. Drop the egos and come together. It really doesn't matter how many people you have following, or how many viewers, or how much content you can get out, or comparing any of those things. It's more about coming together and basically understanding what's going on. Be aware of it and understand what's going on. And that's not where everybody is by far. And maybe some people aren't meant to understand or aren't meant to be aware of something at this point. That's okay. It's not necessarily our place to wake up everybody and anybody that's in front of us. If we feel it, if we have an opportunity to share something, but they may not be open to it. So we really have to have the attitude of paying attention and having our own awareness about what's going on, where people are open to, if you can strike up conversations or not, or mention different things. But if you have any solutions to, about ending, these lockdowns, or ending it, but it definitely seems like there's not any appreciation for the various communication from doctors, researchers, scientists, from the good people to government. There doesn't seem to be any appreciation for the comments, real, truthful, other science to the government. So that's very baffling, to say the least. At least me, just kind of thinking about it. I'm not sure where you are with it, but we definitely don't have a pandemic. And yes, people do die, and they die regularly, and we have birth as well. So we do have this cycle of life going on, and that is one of the comments that I get from people. Well, what about the people dying? And we have to be reminded that death is a cycle of life, and it has always happened and always will happen. Maybe not always, maybe we'll find certain things, maybe there's certain dimensions that are coming, I don't know. But generally speaking, for what we know, for what we witness, for what we observe, our reality here, that is what happens. And there is a lot of vulnerable people. Now, I don't even want to admit that, but, and maybe not as many, because in talking to various people, do you know anybody with going through cancer, chemo? Now, if you go by the 1 in 2 and 1 in 3, or even 1 in 10, then you would think just about everybody would know somebody, but they don't. So that's the good news. That's the good news. It kind of gives me hope. It gives us all hope that not everybody knows people that have the various diseases that they're talking about. So that's what I wanted to bring up there. The idea is appearances. Appearances. And I want to kind of bring in language with that as well. It's very clear that appearances have been part of our society, our culture, for however long, centuries, millennia, about the way we look, the way appearances in language, in words, in speech, and it's all just appearances. At the end of the day, action makes a big, how we make people feel is going to be important. But I'm understanding, for appearances' sake, that it does make a difference to people on how they dress, how they present themselves, and what they actually say. That language, I want to call marketing manipulation. And, maybe it's very innocent and very okay, manipulation, but at the end of the day, marketing manipulation happens. So how people, appearances as far as mainstream media, how people look, is there the dress for success scenario? So people use all these, they learn these and they use them, but what's at the heart? What's really at the heart? So you are, at least I am, coming to learn that there are certain key people that people trust, people follow, people have, now hopefully not worship anymore, because I've talked about that. We don't need to worship anything. Not yourself, not anybody, not any book, not any religion, not any culture, nothing. Don't have to worship anything. We can appreciate them, and we can learn about them and understand them and appreciate the differences and appreciate whatever it is, if it's true to the heart. I mean, is there, there's fake news, yes, but are there fake, people that the way they've been taught to market themselves, speak in language, say the right words, things that are going to get at the heartstrings. I think Charities is brilliant at that. They do that, and at the end of the day, they're using the research money for pharmaceutical. They're using it that way. They're not looking at alternative. Not that I'm aware of. There might be a little bit, and that might be for appearances only. Think about all the big corporations, and over the years, they have a part of their corporation as charity. And they'll talk to a culture that's in their company. Appearances. Appearances. So just, if you see something kind of happening across the board, right, across the board, almost like it's standard, you're going to understand that part of that is at some level a way of presenting something, presenting how they are. Got to get to the heart. That's the thing. To learn about others, who they are, to get to really truly know them, is where they come from here. Sure, there's going to be a connection from mind to heart and the both of them, but how do they make you feel? Yeah, I mean, what is it? How to influence and win friends, something like that. And really the whole key message in there was teaching people to just learn to listen to other people, and people will appreciate you. People will like you because you've just tuned into something that's very key. A lot of people don't feel appreciated. They don't feel heard. And maybe that's part of it, that using the throat chakra to be able to speak up. That I talked about already. So for appearances, what's on the outside is what's on the outside, but what's on the inside is going to be important. So I would just like to say, when we think of appearances, sometimes we really have to seek to understand before we make ourselves understood. And this is what I see with politics, appearances, corporations, appearances. Sure, it's convenient. Sure, they make it easy, but they have the money, and it's for appearances' sake. What is at the core? What is at the heart of something like an Amazon bring to the table? Are they putting a lot of companies out of business? Are they doing, there's probably some pluses. They probably give away maybe money, I don't know, but if you were to study their website, there's certain things like that. Great, we can be grateful and appreciate what companies do at all levels where they're helping people out. Even if it may be for appearances only, it is still something that we can appreciate. So this is just, when you hear about fake, at the end of the day, we do hear be real, be yourself, and that's going to be helpful, because certainly, it's interesting, we learn more and more about each other when there are things like this happening, the COVID, for example, or the U.S. elections, for example. And there's going to be more things. And one of the things I think we can definitely dive into a little bit more, and I know people have, is these agendas. The agendas, 2020 or Agenda 2030, Agenda 2050. I think it's going to be an important piece to learn so that we can understand, and especially understand what some of the people out there are speaking about when it is not good. Okay, one of the things that comes up with appearances as well is climate change. Is that for appearances only? Is it a distraction? Is it a way to grow the green industry, a part of capitalism? Green, buy green, recycling this, whatever. Is it part of that? Does it make companies look better when because we recognize climate, we know we have a climate, absolutely. Went from, was it global warming? You don't really hear that much anymore, to climate change. Well, of course the climate's going to change. I can't expect any no fluctuation in weather, with cycles, with just this and that. Sometimes it seems winter's longer. I mean, this is Farmer's Almanac. Things like that. Is this or that? Of course it shifts. It would be so boring if we knew, okay, the leaves are going to fall and turn color at this time, and the first snowfall happens at this, and so predictable, and this gives us variety. Right, so I think for appearance's sake, companies also use the green card. I think it's a way to tax people, to tell you the truth, and put in programs. So really, I don't know if it's a huge, big money grab, because what I've learned too as well, companies, these big car companies, get all these funding and things to get into green, because that's the next best thing. So they get all this free money, knowing that we have this climate change and so forth in our global thinking and what's for the better. But I get it. Most of us would go, of course we want the planet to be green. Of course we want not this and not extinction. I think extinction probably comes and goes as it is nature. Probably just as much new animals maybe as the ones that go extinct. Maybe that's the nature of things. Maybe that's the nature of things. So for appearances, I'm not convinced, never been convinced on this environmental kind of thing. I think it's important. I think there's probably different pieces. I think there's a lot of things we could do anyway, because probably laziness and not paying attention to gives companies leeway to do pollution and all of that. So there's going to be some very common sense things that should be done anyway. Waste, don't have a shower for 2 hours. I mean, some of this thing is very, very common sense. So appearances, we talked about apples, and certainly said a lot about appreciation and a lot about attitude. Attitude makes a difference, a huge difference. And I think the simple example that you often hear is, do you believe, if you have a glass of water that's half full with some liquid, do you look at that it's half full, that what's missing, or do you look like you've got half full? It's just how you look at it, your perspective and attitude. And so to bring that in more and more into all areas, the appreciation, the attitude, appearances, to just even pay attention, be aware of appearances, and really understand what goes to the heart of the matter, who the heart. And at times I say heart because quite often there is an appearance that we've put on in let's say different hats even. There was, I think, what was his name, Stephen, it was a book, seven different hats. But the idea is, if we think of it in masks or we think of it in hats, depending on where we are, depending on what environment are, what group of people we're in, all of that, we switch up these things all the time. We'll act this way here and we'll act this way here, and sometimes we don't understand it. But at the end of the day, there's a trueness, a realness, a heart, where you are, where your true self is, which is in a lot of cases, I think, all good for the most part. It's all good, and it means you're making people feel good. It means you feel good about yourself and taking care of yourself. Yep, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. But now it's like an apple, it's a round fruit a day, right? So it's plum, it's peach, it's whatever it is. So I'm mentioning those fruits because up here in Toronto and Ontario, those are the fruits that we have here, whereas there's multiple fruits around, around the world. But yeah, so there you go. A little bit about that, a little bit about A. Yeah, that's what we say in Canada, eh? Anyway, A. Here we go. We're going to tell a couple of jokes. Let's see what we have here. And I'm going to try and bring here just a couple of things. So there's a couple of them here. I'm going to read off. So here we go. What kind of music? Yeah, and don't believe, and don't believe everything the media says. Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people are turning off the media at this time. A lot of people are even unfollowing certain people like Deepak Chopra, like Dr. Hyman. Certain things are coming out. Certain things are coming out for the reasons that they are. And so that's really about that. You may not believe what you hear and what you see. You think something, and don't be surprised. Media, owned by the corporations, set up as their marketing arm and their news arm to tell you what they want to tell you. And this doesn't happen overnight. There's a trust that needs to be built up, and a habit of people going and looking at these mainstream media programs. But if you step back far enough, or over time you start understanding, then you can kind of see, what's going on. Yeah, I don't listen to the news anymore. Sometimes I'm in the elevator and it pops up, and I just stay as the observer and kind of see what they're doing. But boy, oh boy, it can kind of get crazy. Yeah, give ourselves a break. But you have to have sources somewhere. You have to have news sources somehow, just to stay on top of certain things. So have those, wherever those, but you don't spend your whole day on it. We've got to live, right? We have to fun and enjoy. So here's a couple of jokes. What kind of music do planets like? What kind of music do planets like? Neptunes. There you go, Neptunes. Hey, 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 ha, ha, ha. Next one. I'll leave this one, last one here. Why couldn't Dracula's wife fall asleep? Why couldn't Dracula's wife fall asleep? Because of his coffin. Because of his coffin. Yeah, that's a good one. Some of you might choke on that, but I'll try to remember to post them up below as well, and any links. Now let me just take a very quick peek here, see if there was anything that came up as far as news goes. Yeah, I might be full with my Ireland trip, so that's very exciting. Only 16 people get to go, and the serious list is booked. May have one or two, just gotta get final confirmation that way. Yeah, that's it. I don't want to talk about, sometimes COVID kind of bores me, but because it's the same old, very simple. What's the test about? What's the masking about? Why are they doing these lockdown when the numbers are never there? And definitely going to hear a lot about, well, are they all vitamin D deficiency? And there you go, it's that. So, but I think there's a bigger thing going on here, and I'm going to leave some of these doctors. I may post a couple of these links again down below for Dr. Bonnie Henry from Dr. Stephen Malthouse in the Good West. So it's just so grateful for them, because we do really, for people, have to have reliable information. That is key. But we also have to question, and I think that's the biggest thing I'm getting from the scientific community and the doctors, is they are at least questioning, but no answers coming through. So what are you going to do with that, right? What are you going to do with that? He was scared he was going to drink all her blood. Yeah, all these crazy things, I have to say, makes you think about Hollywood, makes you think about why all the scary stuff, why the zombie stuff, why the fear, why certain things, and some of it is clearer than others. The soap opera stuff, the drama stuff, and how many people bring that and other things that we watch with our eyeballs into our everyday life. I watched my children do it. That's the perfect source, I have to tell you. If you're, let's not say experiments, but let's just say things unfold. And I've watched my children, and they get to a certain age, and they'll have watched certain programs, and them absolutely act out. So just say, as a mother, you kind of know your child to a certain extent, just all free, loving, caring, whatever. And then all of a sudden and if you understand a little bit about drama, even in the children's programs, they start acting it out. And I used to say to my children, that's too much drama for me. I mean, I'd use comedy and just making light of things with them. I think I got through to them, but I just had to keep up that because basically that's what they were doing. So it's, yeah, sorry got to pass for Ireland. Mum is more important. Absolutely. And hopefully I'll go to Ireland again. First of all, hopefully we get to go next year. That's what I'm voting for, is to actually go. So travel's kind of an interesting thing, because just to leave you on this note, I'm hearing that the airlines are definitely in a pickle as far as money goes. I feel for them, because they don't seem like the Amazons and the Googles and all of those companies, and they've been hurt tremendously and losing a lot of money. And so I hear recently that they are booking a lot of flights and people are paying for them, but then they're canceling them. So all they're offering is just a credit. So it definitely gives them some flow of income. And so I get that. And maybe just innocently, they're trying to get things going, but if they don't have a full flight, they have to cancel that, and hopefully they can manage it with more. But the idea is you can't just send all the flights off with 5 people, 10 people, or whatever it is. So I get it, but it's a little bit crazy. But hopefully things will, well, they'll be what they'll be. I can't promise. I don't have a magic ball, a crystal ball, as they say, magic wand to make things happen, because they need to happen how they need to happen. And I think what's key is this whole growth part. So if everybody can do their growth work and get to a very peaceful place, a calm place, and just take the action we need to do to disintegrate what they're trying to push on us, as far as lockdown, do what they say, blah, 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 mandatory vaccines, testing, all of that kind of nonsense, in my mind. You may have a different opinion on yourself, for yourself, but that's my thinking about it. It is nonsense. Not hearing anything concrete, not enough evidence, and that's just me personally speaking, and watching and reading and doing those kind of things. But anyway, there you go. So if you want a good book to read, read All Guts, All Glory, because then you're going to discover, quite simply, what the root cause of all disease is. That's it. It's not even more complicated, and numerous other things, because I do believe in simplicity, and I believe, like the doctors of old, that I can teach you and educate you to be your best doctor. Not your only doctor, but your best doctor, and in a pinch you'll have more confidence, you won't get anxious, and and certain things you don't have to go to the hospital. Absolutely. Certain things you can take care of yourself, but understanding is very important. I think is give everybody a relief, be relieved that there is really a simple, how can I say, progression of certain things happen when things are like X, be it too much stress or whatever. But anyway, I just encourage you, get the book, because it's worth it, and it's information that I picked up, and I can't possibly present enough and around the world to get this information out. So that's why I created the book over 3 years. Yeah, there's a lot of other things in there, but it's basically teaching you. It's not about, oh, okay, understand this, and you've got to see Cheryl, you've got to see another practitioner. No, you may wish to, you may have to, there may be certain elements, but not necessarily. Anyway, there you go. Angel, thank you for your comments, and also congratulations for all the good work you've done with your health, and it must feel awesome. So I wanted to give you a shout out for that too. That's it's great to see that, and more people are going to be doing that. I can just feel it. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to say bye for now. Got to do a few things before I get a call at 6. And other than that, enjoy your evening, enjoy your day your way, and we will see you live at 5. But I will say, there's probably a good chance I won't do anything until next Sunday, because I'm shooting out of town Wednesday morning very, very early, not coming back till late, late, late Saturday night, just to spend some time helping my sister move. So that'll be interesting. But if something comes up, absolutely I'll come. But I won't even be watching snooze. It'll be a complete break. And breaks are good. Breaks are very good. I enjoy it. Getting spring water, visiting friends, visiting family, helping out, and all that kind of good stuff. So take care. Find what gives you some peace and some fun and some joy and some happiness and some laughter, and every day. Every day. Count that in as your balance and some self-care. Absolutely. You're worth it. Everybody's worth it. So take care, everyone. Enjoy. Bye for now, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon.